All right, let's talk about it, man. Let's do it. AOT fans, the real ones, represent, stand up. We're gonna do our top 5 characters of AOT, Attack on Titan, Shinigami Kanji. Now, listen, everybody likes to go with the same 5: Eren, Levi, Mikasa. Bro, fuck that. We're talking real characters, the ones that are in the backgrounds that you don't really get to appreciate unless you're a real fan of the show and you really go back and reread. Because listen, one of the things I love about stories are the side characters. The side characters are the ones that make up like the real story. See, the big ones, they're obvious. They drive the plot. But it's the side characters that like give you like a different insight because of how they're odd. Because usually when most people with side characters, they're very odd and they have a different impact upon the story and upon the characters. And so you can't really appreciate the side characters. You see the totality of the story. And that's what I love about AOT, because the side characters are fucking epic. So let's get into it. Starting with number 5 of our top 5 list, Mr. Tom Xavier. So Tom Xavier was the original Beast Titan. And he was Zeke's mentor, and he's the one that met Zeke. And they kind of just threw baseballs together. And what made Tom so interesting is he was very like thoughtful in understanding his circumstance. And he hated the idea that he had to exist. He hated the idea that Titans had to exist. And he's the one who sparked Zeke's idea or curiosity into saying the euthanasian plan, where what if we just got rid of all of these guys and we never had to reproduce anymore? It would end all the war. And so that type of self-sacrifice is such a touching ideology, because he's such a powerful like being. He's the Beast Titan. 13 years doing it, and he came to the conclusion after all his time, like he lost his son, he lost everything. He looked at Zeke as a son. He tried to mentor Zeke, and he gave Zeke confidence in knowing, hey, look, you did the right thing to turn your parents in. Even though you sacrificed your parents, you were able to save so many more Eldians from a poor like outcome. And because you did that, that gave people hope and light. And so I appreciate Tom as a character, because just the insightful. He was a scientist. He studied the Titans. He studied himself, and he was much more curiosity. Like he might be kind of like Hanji. He's like the anti-Hanji of the Eldian side, or I guess you would say the Marleyan Eldian side. And so we have to give a lot of appreciation to Tom. If you ever go back, reread the story, look at that Marley part when he's talking to Zeke about how he just wished that like I was never born. I wish I never had to experience this pain, and I don't want any of my other Marleyan Eldians to ever experience this pain either. I think it would just be better for us to not exist. So that's a very deep philosophical like ideology and mindset, and I appreciate him for that. That's a real deep, heavy shit, man. And so now we go to number 4. Number 4 of our list of top 5 character, Mr. Keith Sades. Now everybody knows Keith Sades as the hard ass military director that basically trained Eren, all the young corps. But if you go back and you listen to like his little one-off episode, which is masterful, Jesus Christ, this is such a beautiful anime. Keith, he was known as the guy who never accomplished anything, the guy who never lived up to expectations. And so he was the original scout commander prior to Erwin, contrary to most people didn't pay attention to that. But when he tells about the story, how he repeatedly would go to battle and just get all of his guys killed and come back with just loser him, his self-esteem hit the fan. He used to have hair. He lost his hair because he just kept losing people over and over and over and over. He's like, what am I doing wrong? Am I not the right guy? And he thought his pride and his ego was getting in the way, and he finally realized, hey, look, I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I should not be the leader anymore. Maybe I'm better off not taking guys to battle. Maybe my true calling is to inspire the young guys and get them, be hard on them, because I understand how harsh it is out there in that reality when you get out there with the Titans. And he has a great play on characters. One of my favorite moments of all time of the series is when, well, there's 2 parts, where him and Sasha interact, where Sasha has the potato. She's eating the potato in her hand, and Keith is like, why do you have a potato? And Sasha looked at him with a straight face and said, I saw it and I was hungry. I cried laughing. That shit was hilarious. And he looked at her like, are you out your mind? And then Sasha, the innocence of Sasha's face, this the country bumpkin. She breaks the potato in half. She's like, do you want the other half? And the half wasn't even. She gave him the smaller half. I was just like, Jesus Christ, this show is too funny. Like those little moments, and then like he also has a great send off where he's talking with General Magnoff. And it's one of the most like touching thing where he met a guy who's basically his opposite, and that's the thing you gotta love about this Attack on Titan is how the polarity of the characters. How on the Eldian side, they have all the same characters on the Marleyan side. They're almost exactly perfect mirror of each other, and when they start to realize, like, damn, we actually work better together than we would be alone. It's kind of sad because they realize it too late. And so, like, when they go through that final scene before they blow up the boat, and he's like, what is your name? He's like, my name is Keith Sadies. He's like, what's your name? General Magnoff. He was like, it was a pleasure to meet you. It was a pleasure to meet you, too. And they fucking, boom, blow that bitch up. I said, man, that's touching. Because they both did what they thought was the right thing to do, which was, like, train their soldiers up to be the best fucking soldier. They had an ideology. And they followed that ideology to the end until they finally realized, man, it was never about us. It was about the youngins. Make sure they have a better chance to prosper. And that's really a larger message we should take from, like, just as older people. Like, I'm getting to my age where I'm getting certain maturity where I got to pass on the torch of the young nigga stuff to young niggas. I'm past that stage now. I'm not the clubbing guy anymore. I'm now like an educator. I'm more mature in my studies and the way I look at life. So I was very appreciative of that because at the end of the day, man, you want to be able to sacrifice yourself to a greater good to give the younger people a better chance. And I think that's the message we should all take from there. And number 3 of our top 5 characters, the dastardly villain, one of the greatest villains of all time, Kenny Ackerman. Kenny Ackerman, a.k.a. the Grim Reaper, a.k.a. the police, the military secret op police. The real Kenny the Reaper is what they call him. Now, Kenny was a very interesting character because he is an Ackerman. He mentored Levi, taught Levi everything he needed to know. And he was given a proposition because he was just a gangster running around killing military police. And they finally caught his ass and said, hey, look, bro, let's break a deal. And so they brought him to, I forget the name, but the guy who was like the original founding Titan. And they had a very interesting dialogue because Kenny had a chance to, he was fighting him out. The guy grabbed him and basically said, I can kill you, Kenny. And Kenny's like, oh, well, shit. So Kenny actually was able to like break it open and get a gun to his face. And the guy says, please, in my misery, in my suffering. Kenny's like, what the fuck? Like, bro, you want to end your suffering. I want to end my suffering. And it was very interesting to see that dialogue exchange because it showed a different side of Kenny and why he is the way he is. And from that, he wanted to vow to basically maintain the order of the civilization. It gave him purpose. Because before he would just run the streets being a fucking, just doing just gangster shit. And then he got a greater purpose, which was protecting the Reese family. And when he got that purpose and he was able to like basically dedicate himself to something, much like how Levi was dedicating his heart to the scouts and to Erwin and basically ensuring that everything can carry on as proper. Kenny's like the exact opposite of Levi. And it's, once again, the dichotomy of the show is fucking brilliant. But Kenny was such a cool character because Kenny's like, I just want to see what happens. What the hell happens if I just let shit go crazy? And that's how a lot of guys are. A lot of guys just like, what happens if we just let chaos go out? And he had a lot of epic scenes, a lot of epic fights. But I think that last stage when he's bleeding out, he's sitting by the tree, the same tree that he met, I forget which Reese, but whatever Reese that inherited the family Titan. And he had the serum. And he told Levi, this is the last serum to change somebody into a Titan. He's like, I don't want to change myself to a Titan. I'm happy at peace right here. I think I've seen what I need to see. Take this, Levi, and make sure you use it wisely. And it was a very beautiful gift to see, like, as a man. Because that's a lot of things that will happen to men. Men, we think a certain way. We have a certain ideology. And then these inflection points, these important things happen to us. And once those things happen to us, like, we begin to, like, question. And a lot of times you just want to leave a parting gift, a great parting gift for somebody that you fucking care for and love for. And he loved Levi. Like, Levi was like his goddamn son. And he was happy to see that Levi actually built something himself and joined something positive instead of doing what Kenny did, which was basically being a guard dog for the military police and the government. But that was a very interesting dialogue. Highly recommend you guys go back and rewatch that. Number 2, one of my all-time favorite characters, Eren Krueger, the Owl. So Eren Krueger was the original Attack Titan. Well, not the original Attack Titan, but the one that we first were brought to understand or see. And the first one to basically open up our eyes to the story of the Titans and how they came to be. And Eren Krueger was basically a spy. And he had to do a lot of horrible shit to be able to maintain his cover. A lot of horrible stuff. He said, I killed so many of my comrades. I hit him with the serum. I turned them mindless Titans. And I had to do it because I knew there would be a chance where I would meet the person. And what was cool about it is that, like, once you realize what the Attack Titans' powers are, which is they have the power to see the future, he's just like Eren, just like Gresha. You have to keep marching forward. Despite knowing the sadness and the things that might come, you have to keep marching forward. Understand that your sacrifice is for a greater good. And one of the hardest like dialogue scenes is when Eren's talking to Gresham, like as they're like he kicks off, like he saves Gresha. Gresha got his fingers cut off. He's crying. He just watched his wife be turned to a Titan, and he's about to be killed. And then Eren Krueger kicks him off the kicks what's his name? I forget his name, but the guy who was like the piece of shitty boss at Marley kicks him off and watches him get eaten by a Titan. And he asks Gresha, like, do you feel anything? He's like, no. He's like, I feel so hollow. Like, none of it even matters. He's like, well, welcome to the existence. He's like, you made this choice. The day that you ventured off with your sister past the indeterminate zone to go look at that blimp, to go see something, was the day you marched upon your destiny. And now it's time for you to fulfill your destiny, because that's what the Attack Titan does. We don't ask to be in the circumstances that we choose to be in. Sometimes we're just thrust upon it, and you have a responsibility that you have to take care of. And that's just the way that like the life works. And that scene was so touching because right before he's about to be eaten by Gresha, he says something that just sticks out to me. He's like, go, Gresha. You have to save Armin and Mikasa. And Gresha looks at him. He's like, Armin? Who's Armin and Mikasa? And Eren Krueger is just like, I don't know. And that was touching, brother. Because you realize, like, the Attack Titan, like, the memories are all linked. And, like, he's seeing what Eren's seeing. And it's like, it's crazy because you think about all the Attack Titans that ever existed had to see what Eren was. They knew what the end was. And it was pretty cool to see the manipulation, like, to know that Eren was behind all that. Like, maybe he was changing the memories of everybody from back then. So that was a very cool scene. I greatly appreciate Eren Krueger because he's one of those guys that greatly impacted Gresha, who greatly impacted Eren, who basically you see like the chains of the story progressing, which was fucking amazing. And last and not least, number 1, the greatest character of Attack on Titan, the greatest one of all time, the sadistic king himself, Mr. Darius Zackley. Darius Zackley is the fucking Grim Reaper of just fucking. He's like Saul. He was like the Saul in Attack on Titan because just his contraptions. Like he hated the military. He hated all the fucking bullshit government. And he had this position of power, but he knew it was not the time to be able to manipulate that shit because he wasn't in the power seat yet. And to see how he moved as a general was so interesting. And like his conversations with Erwin, with Pixie. And just moving like a boss. And then that contraption, that chair where he just had a guy set up. And one of the funniest scenes of all time in Attack on Titan is when, like, I think it's Eren, Mikasa, and Armin. Armin might be Mikasa and Armin. They see him in his desk. And they see that contraption. Like the shit. Like when the guy's like upside down, strapped up, and he has to eat his own shit. And they ask him, like, what's that for? And he just looks at him like, don't worry about it. But he met a very awful death because they fucking blew his shit up and he came out the window with it. But I fucking love Zarius because he was just a fucking sadistic asshole. Just the best. And just a random, like, contraption. Just a random character. And that's what I loved about Attack on Titan. Like, you got to appreciate the subtlety of the random characters. Like, because don't get me wrong. The main characters are wonderful. Great to see the evolutions. But their evolution was only due to the fact that they had these random side characters that impacted the story and gave them new twists and turns and added new elements and variables. Masterpiece. Just a fucking masterpiece.